Cheto darpanam marjanam bhavamahadavagni nirvapanam Sraya kairava chandriga vitaranam vidyavadhu jivanam anandam buddhivardhanam pratipadang purnamrita swadanam sarvatma snapanam parang vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam Nam Nam Akadi Bahuda Nijasarva Shakti Tatrarapita Niyamata Smarane Nakala Etadrasi Tava Kripa Bhagavan Mamapi Nurdaiva Midrisam Ihajani Nanuraga Trinadapi Sunichena Toradeva Sahishnuna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari Nadanang Janjadang Sundaring Kapitang Vajagadisha Kamaye Mama Janmani Janmanishware Bhavatad Bhaktir Ahaitiki Twayi Ainanda Tunujja Kinkarang Patitang Mang Vishame Bhavam Buddha Kripaya Tavapada Pankaja Stita Duli Sadrishang Vichintaya Nayanam Galadasrudharaya Vadanang Gadgadda Rudaya Gira Pulakayana Chitang Papukada Tavanama Grahane Bhavisyati Yugaitam Namashena Chakshusha Pravrishaitam Shunyaitam Jagat Sarvam Govinda Vidahena Me Hare Nama Hare Nama Hare Nama Eva Kivalam Kalo Nastyeva 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 Gatir Anyata Om Namah Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namah Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namah Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So last month I spoke on the conversation between the Yama-dootas and Vishnu-dootas. And last month I was requested, since I only did half, to continue. So that's what I'm doing tonight. This section is from the 6th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. The 6th canto discusses the subject of poshanam, protection by the Lord. It is the principle of Krishna Bhakti that as the devotee surrenders to Krishna, Krishna gives an equal amount of protection for his devotees. We have so many examples of this poshana, or protection, such as in the case of Lord Nrsimha protecting his devotee Prahlad Maharaj. And in this particular section, the Ajamila Katha, Ajamil was a son of a Brahmana. And as a young boy, he was sent out by his father to collect ingredients for this sacrificial performance. The young man, when he went out, he by chance saw a Sudra couple embracing shamelessly on the street. and they were dressed very licentiously. And when the young man, Ajamil, saw this, it stirred up dormant, lusty desires in his heart. And although he knew what he should do in such a circumstance, still those lusty desires were awakened so much that they overpowered his intelligence. And so he could not give up the scene. And so he became attached to that prostitute. And he gave up his duly married wife and committed all kinds of sinful activities in order to live and maintain that prostitute. So he had become completely fallen from his Brahminical culture. We must always remember that the classifications of Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra are not based upon birth, but they're based upon one's characteristics or actual visible qualities of work. As Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Brahma karma swabhavajam. Yes, you have a nature, but what distinguishes someone is his activities. Just as the Rakshasa, Ravana, he was also the son of a Brahmana. But he was no Brahmana because he did not act as a Brahmana. In the Bhagavad Gita, we see there are 9 symptoms of a Brahmana. Shamo dhamma tapak shautyam shantir arjavam evacha jnanam vijnanam astikyam brahma karma swabhavajam. One is judged to be a Brahmana if he has control over the mind, control over the senses, is simple and not diplomatic or political. If one is clean inside and out, if one is truthful. And the most important quality of a Brahmana, besides his knowledge of the Shastras, astikyam, complete faith in the Supreme Lord. Astikyam, completely faithful to the Supreme Lord. That is the most important quality. So although this Ajamil was born in a Brahmana family, he gave up his Brahminical culture and took up residence maintaining the prostitute. And thus, in so doing, he committed so many sinful acts day after day. He became a debauchee. He committed stealing and thievery and lying and cheating. And of course, he was eating the food cooked by the prostitute. So his every eating was also sinful, because we learn from the Bhagavad Gita that if one does not offer the food one eats to the Lord as sacrifice, then one is simply eating lumps of sin. This is described in the 3rd chapter of Bhagavad Gita. It's not a question of being vegetarian or non-vegetarian. It's a question of, are you eating foodstuff which is first offered to the Lord as sacrifice? That is the first criteria. Then the next subsequent question is, what kind of foodstuff is permissible to offer the Supreme Lord? Then we come to the discussion of vegetarian, non-vegetarian. But the First principle is one has to offer the food one eats first as a sacrifice. So a Jamil throughout his life became full of sinful activities and their reactions. On his deathbed, he was visited by the 4 servants of Yamaraj, known as the Yama-dootas. These Yama-dootas' business is to snatch the soul covered by the subtle body of mind, intelligence, and false ego, and drag that soul covered by a subtle body to the kingdom of Yamaraj, which is situated at the bottom of the universe, just above the Garbhodaka ocean, which fills half the universe. So Yamaraj's abode is just above there, and below Yamaraj's abode are the hellish planets. Those hellish planets are described in the final chapter of the 5th canto. Shukadeva Goswami gives us a guided tour through 28 different kinds of hells. So Ajamil on his deathbed was visited by these ghastly servants, the Yama-dootas, and he was completely horrified and terrified. Now just near his deathbed was his youngest son, who, by the grace of the Lord, he named his son Narayan. So here is the protection of the Lord. Although this Ajamil had lived a life of complete sin, the Lord, by his mercy, inspired him to name the youngest son Narayana. Everybody say, that was the mercy of the Lord. Because all throughout his life, he would constantly call, Narayan, come here to eat. Narayan, come. Narayan, Narayan. Even though he was not signifying the real Narayan, the name is absolute. And still, he got the benefits of bhakti. What does this mean? The name is absolute. Here is some nice water. Because this is a material object, the name or sound water is different from the object. I do not quench my thirst by chanting, water, water, water. I need the object. Because this is dualistic. The name and the object are two different things. But when something is absolute, the name and the object are the same. This is the whole science behind chanting. The chanter is someone who understands the name Krishna is Krishna. There is no difference. In the same way, you are not worshiping an idol. You are worshiping God. I don't worship idols. I worship God. Because the other people from other religions, they will accuse, oh, why do you worship idols? I'm not. I'm worshiping God. To you, it's an idol because your heart is stone-like. Hiranyakashipu had a stone-like heart. But our hearts are not made of stone. Do you see a stone statue when you come to the temple? No, you see Bhagavan. You see your Lord. That is the difference. You have transcendental knowledge. Knowledge is key. It is stated throughout the Vedas. By knowledge, one becomes liberated. That's the whole concept of accepting a spiritual master or guru. He instructs you in transcendental knowledge. It's not hocus pocus. I save you. No. You get delivered by the spiritual master through his vani, through his instruction, by his teachings. And by those instructions, you become liberated. You become delivered. So it was the Lord's poshana, or protection, that even though Ajamil was very sinful, he got the inspiration to give his son the name Narayan. We have a problem? I was told you guys didn't like it. Well, what do I do? Because I was doing that, and then people came up to me and complained. We don't like it. So when I stopped it, make up my mind. Yeah, I don't care. I can play any game. I was chastised. Okay? No. That's okay. I'm just saying. You guys got to, figure it out. Get on the same page. I'm very accommodating. All right, should I continue? So what are we doing? Just continue?
Yeah, just one minute. Yeah, anybody wants to give the name for Aarti Seva, please give the name as soon as possible. Okay, I will appreciate. Thank you.
That's no problem. All right. You let me know. You know me. I am meek and humble. At least I pretend. All right. So, when Ajamil saw the 4 horrible-looking Yama-dootas coming to drag him to hell, out of sheer terror and fright, he called out to his youngest son, Narayan! Yes. Now, because that sound vibration is absolute, the actual Narayan heard his name being called out. Ajamil was not calling Narayan. He had completely forgotten everything about Narayan. He was calling his son, but the name is absolute, and the real Narayan told his servants, he's calling me, go save him. So immediately, the 4 Vishnu-dootas arrived on the scene, and they told the Yama-dootas, stop. This was the first time this had ever happened. The Yama-dootas had 100% success rate, dragging souls to hell. Here was the first instance where they were thwarted. So when the Yama-dootas told them to stop, they had a discussion on the scriptures. And as we learned last week, the Yama-dootas are very knowledgeable on the scriptures because they're the ones who are speaking. So we pick up where we left off. We keep in mind the Yama-dootas are arguing why they should take a Jamil to hell. And it's based on Vedic knowledge. So let's see where they pick up. So they say here, as a sleeping person acts according to the body manifested in dreams and accepts it to be real, so also one identifies with the present body which he or she has acquired because of one's past religious or irreligious actions, and is therefore unable to know his past, present, or future lives. So a lot here in this statement by the Yama-dootas. As I said, they're fully aware of the Vedic knowledge. So the Yama-dootas are saying, you've all had experience. You dream at night, and you're dreaming that you have this identity, a tiger is chasing you, or sometimes I have one of my flying dreams where I'm flying through the sky. We've all had dreams. So in those dreams, we may take on a different form than our regular form. But when we wake up, we realize, oh, it was just a dream. The Yama-dootas are saying, this present material body is also a dream. No different than the dreams you have at night. Elsewhere in the Bhagavatam, it says that this understanding that material existence is a dream is the secret, confidential teaching of the Vedas. So here I just gave it to you free of charge. So, Hare Krishna. Now, the Yama-dootas also point out another thing here. Why do I have this present material body? Why is everybody's body different? Why do we see some people born very, very wealthy, or very handsome, or very ugly, or we see children born diseased, or why do we see people born in very, very horrible circumstances? They say everyone acquires their present body due to the past religious or irreligious activities. In other words, God is indiscriminate. It's not that he's indiscriminately saying, okay, you suffer and you enjoy. If that was the case, I would be an atheist. If that's how God worked. But he doesn't. The body is given to us according to the past karma, activities. The Bhagavatam points out there are certain things which indicate a very good past life. One of which, and I'm not here to flatter you, but I'm speaking what the Bhagavatam says, and I gave a class on this last year. One of the best rewards of a previous life is to take birth in India. That's what the Bhagavatam says. The demigods are praying that when they have to give up their life as a demigod, they take birth in India. Because they know, if I want to get back, I have to perform religious activities. If someone is born very, very wealthy, or with beautiful bodily features, or if one is very intelligent, or very expert, or talented, these are signs that in a previous life, you were very, very pious, religious. Conversely, if one is born chronically ill or always in trouble with the law or in a very bad, heavy situation, that means that in the past life one was sinful. For instance, there is one reference in the Bhagavatam. What happens to those who are killers of brahmanas? They live in the desert. I'll let you think about that. That's a whole nother class I could give. So you can get an idea of what your past life was by understanding what kind of life you have now. You can get some idea. So the Yama-dootas are saying, next thing they're saying is, so I should become conscious because how I'm acting now is determining the next chapter. See, a lot of people don't care. But those who are conscientious, those who are followers of the Vedas, they understand this point, that I have nobody to blame for my lot in life other than the man in the mirror. It's not God's fault. Krishna says that in the Bhagavad Gita too. The Supreme Spirit does not assume anyone's sinful or pious activities. I'm responsible. I am the architect of my own future. So keep that in mind. How I'm acting now is going to determine the next chapter. It's up. That's why Krishna says at the end of Bhagavad Gita, Yatechasi tata kuru. Arjuna, I've told you everything. Decide what you want to do. He leaves it up to Arjuna. He doesn't twist his arm. He doesn't put him in a chokehold. Surrender, Arjuna. No. Krishna deals with you gentlemanly. Arjuna, I've answered your questions. Prabhupada even mentions that if necessary, Krishna would have repeated the whole Bhagavad Gita over again to Arjuna, or any particular point. Right? So Arjuna, after hearing Bhagavad Gita, says, yes, my illusion is dispelled. My doubts are gone, and I will act according to your instructions. Then the battle begins. Arjuna was not prepared to fight until this was settled up. So Krishna gives us this free will. And with that free will, we can chalk out whatever life we want, good or bad. Some people ask the question, why should I study Bhagavad Gita or any Vedic literature? For this reason. Because it matters. Because how you act now, that's your next body. Now, I'm 67. How many more years I got? I like to think, oh, I have, no, I don't know that. Right? So, I got to start thinking. I've done so many things. How much time do I have left to settle all accounts with the Corleone family? I have to finish up my business here. Otherwise, take another birth. Everybody wants a better life, right? You've all been on the airplane, right? And if you're not rich, then you look at the people in first class and you go, boy, if only I could get an upgrade, right? But meanwhile, I'm stuck back at the back of the plane in economy, right? So the whole idea of human life is to get a life upgrade. If you behave in the mode of goodness, your next life will be an upgrade. If you act in the mode of passion, stay in economy as a human being. Upgrade means higher planets with the Devatas. Live in the mode of passion, continue in the rat race. And if I act in the mode of ignorance, animal, aquatic, insect, plant, I have nobody to blame but myself. So it's very interesting how these Yama-dootas know so much knowledge. They are continuing. They're making their case because they're supposed to take a Jamil to hell. At this moment, everything is suspended. A Jamil's waiting, and he's watching the conversation, and he's like, wow. Because he's seeing the Yama-dootas, but he's also seen these Vishnu-dootas who look just like Vishnu, and they're glowing, and he's hearing the conversation. He's like, so the Yama-dootas are continuing. Above the 5 senses of perception, and above the 5 working senses, and above the objects of the senses, above all of them, the mind, which is the 16th element. This is Sankhya. If you study Sankhya philosophy, this is the fundamental. Hey, you, come here. Haribo. This is one of the fundamental principles. It's called the 24 items of the material world. So he just mentioned 15. Eyes, ears, nose, tongue, skin, throat, hands, legs, genital, anus. Those are the 10 senses. And then there are the 5 objects of the senses: smell, sight, sound, taste, touch. So those are the 15. Above them is the mind. That's called the, and above the mind, soul. This is also mentioned in Bhagavad Gita. If you look at chapter 3, Krishna also says, the mind is superior, or the senses are superior to the sense objects, superior to the senses is the mind, superior to the mind is the soul, and superior to the soul is super soul, Param Atma, Krishna in the heart. The mind, above the mind is the 17th element, the soul, the living being itself, who in cooperation with the other 16 enjoys the material world. So that's, you might know Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Manaksastan Indriyani Prakriti-stani Karshati. Material existence means struggling with the senses, which includes the mind. That is the whole material existence. It's simply a struggle with your senses and mind. Another way to look at it, you have a vehicle, you have a car. You're the driver. You're superior to the car. The car can't act unless you operate it. The car is made up of different instruments. So in the same way, Yantra Rudhani Mayaya, Krishna says, the living entity is seated as if on a machine made of material energy. So this is our yantra. This is our car, which we're driving. Now, you all know what it's like. You got to steer it. You got to look at your mirror. You have to maintain your car, right? When it's filled with traffic and the car is going 3 miles an hour for an hour, you're struggling with that. That also is material existence. We're simply struggling. The living being enjoys 3 kinds of situation: happy, distressful, mixed. Happy, people who act in the mode of goodness, like right now. Right now, you're in the mode of goodness. You're in the temple. Things are calm. Can you hear the tambora? Right? Put ease, nice, peaceful mood. It's also for me. Shanti, shanti, shanti. So right now, we're in the mode of goodness. There's no TVs playing, no radios. You're not on your cell phone. So you're in the mode of goodness. You're hearing the message of Bhagavatam. You're just like the sages of Naimisharanya 5,000 years ago. Same situation. They were sitting. Sutta Goswami was speaking. Mode of goodness. So when you're in the mode of goodness, happy. That's happy life. Then it says distressful. Mode of ignorance. When I act in the mode of ignorance, distress. And then mixed, mode of passion. It's in between. It's good and then it's bad. That's the mode of passion. You're up, you're down. Stock market. It's up, oh great, oh down, oh. Right? But the mode of goodness calms. Like I said, the symptoms of a Brahmana. Sense control, mind control. That's where your peace comes from. Peace is not gotten through a magic wand. No. Peace is up to you. You control your mind. You control your senses. You have peace. For the past so many months, I'm reading for the second time Ramayana. Right? So I'm in the third part where the war is going on. And so many of Ravana's assistants, well-wishers, advisors are telling him, Ravan, this Ram and Lakshman, you're not going to defeat them. You're going to jeopardize the whole kingdom just for one Sita. You've had so many women. He had so many women every night. They were saying, for one Sita, you're going to jeopardize everything? And of course, Ravana would get angry. Sri Radharaman Bhagavan Ki Jai. Ravana would get angry when anyone suggested that he give up Sita. That's all he had to do. Ram, even before the war began, Ram sent a message, I think, with Angada. Angada, go tell Ravan, if he returns Sita, no war. I'll let him live. He can live peacefully. But still, Ravana couldn't give up that attachment. Why? Because Ravana is in a mode of passion and ignorance. He knows nothing about controlling the mind and senses. It's obvious. He had no control over his mind and senses. The subtle body, so the subtle body, mind, intelligence, and ego. The subtle body is endowed with 16 parts, which was already mentioned. This subtle body is an effect of the three modes of material nature. So you all know the three modes. I've been mentioning it. Goodness, passion, and ignorance. In the Gita and elsewhere in the Vedas, in this material world, everything is categorized by these modes of nature. In Bhagavad Gita, there's eating in the mode of goodness, eating in the mode of passion, eating in the mode of ignorance. Sometimes it's asked, why do you Hare Krishna people not eat onions and garlic? Because it's in the mode of passion and ignorance. What to speak of eating animal flesh? That's not mode of goodness. Mode of goodness is fruits, vegetables, grains, nuts, milk products. That's mode of goodness. This is all mentioned in Bhagavad Gita. Everything, how you eat, how you work, everything is according to the modes of nature. The choice is yours. You're free. You're free to act, right? But, like, some people give this argument. Prabhuji, my religion allows me to eat meat. I said, that's fine. But does your religion prevent you from the reaction of that meat eating, such as cancer? That they don't think about. Heart attack. Like my father. My father was raised in a particular religion. In his religion, he was allowed to eat meat. But his religion didn't prevent him from having 5 heart attacks. Did it? Didn't save him, did it? And removing his different organs. And it's so funny, because year after year, my father and I would have arguments whenever I would see him, because my father thought I worshiped idols. And my father couldn't understand why I kept saying the same thing over and over again. Hare Krishna, why are you saying the same thing? And he couldn't understand why I'm vegetarian. But it was I had to laugh. After my father's first heart attack, the doctor he went to see was a Sikh. And what did the Sikh doctor tell him? No more meat. Daddy, I've been telling you for how many years? Was the first thing the doctor told him. Did he give it up? No. That's why he had a second one. Yeah. So you may have a religion that condones it, but it's not going to prevent it from the reactions. Because this knowledge, this is another aspect, this knowledge is non-sectarian. It's, especially when you come to Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, you're beyond this conception of religion. You're now on the platform of absolute truth. Absolute truth means it applies to everyone. Like, I hear this silly argument. There's another, I hear so many over the years, so many silly arguments. That's your religion. I don't believe in your, that's fine. But we're not talking about religion. We're talking about the absolute truth. Whether I'm a Christian, Hindu, Muslim, atheist, I have to die, right? Applicable to all. That's absolute truth. So this is why I study Gita and Bhagavatam, because it's dealing on the platform of absolute truth. Just like another way of Sanatana Dharma. This word Sanatan is very important. Another silly argument. When did your religion start? I'm asked that question. It's always been in existence, my friend. It has no beginning. That is the meaning of Sanatan. Always existed. It's true now and will be forever true. Another silly argument. Oh, Prabhu, Bhagavad Gita was for a different age. Now we're in Kali Yuga, it doesn't apply. No. That's called cop-out. They like to give these silly arguments to justify their sinful life. No. Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam is teaching the eternal truth. That's the religion I joined. Okay? I'm not interested in this club, that club. I'm interested in truth. That's why I study Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. And that's why it remains ever fresh, because it's talking about the eternal truth. Now the Yama-dootas continue. The subtle body, mind, intelligence, ego, which covers the soul, it's material. Keep in mind, it's a subtle, you'll have your gross body. The subtle body is unseen. The doctors will never see the subtle body. The Yama-dootas could. That's what they were trying to drag and snatch out of the heart of a Jamil. They had the ability to see the subtle body covering the soul. So it says, the subtle body is composed of insurmountably strong desires. And we've had desires for a long. Keep in mind, this isn't your first rodeo. You have had many births. Later on in the 6th canto, this Ajamil Kata is the first 3 chapters of the 6th canto. Towards the end is the story of Chitraketu. When Chitraketu finally gets his son, and then the son is poisoned, Narada Muni brings the son back to life. And the son tells the king and queen, why are you lamenting? I had so many mothers and fathers in the past. I was your son for so many days. I've already taken birth somewhere, and I already have a new mother and father. So, that was another thing that made my father cry one time. We were driving in the car. I don't know what happened. I told my father, I said, yes, you're my father in this life. He started to cry because he thought, I'm his son eternally. His religion teaches that after death, I will be his son in heaven. So I gently pointed out, no, my dear father, I've had so many fathers before. You're my father in this life, and I might have many other fathers to go. So that's what we learn here. You all know the story of Bharat, right? He was the son of God, Rishabdev, but then he fell down, took the body of a deer. So he had a deer father and mother. Then he took his 3rd birth as Jada Bharat, born in a Brahmin family, and after 3 births, he achieved self-realization, perfection. So many. Here's another, Krishna. So when Krishna appeared to Vasudeva and Devaki on Janmashtami night, Krishna said the same thing to Vasudeva and Devaki. I am appearing in this Narayan form. Why? Because I want to point out to you, this is the 3rd time I am appearing as your son. You, Vasudeva and Devaki, were originally Prishni and Sutapa, and I was your son, Prishni Garbha. Then you, Vasudeva and Devaki, took birth as Kashyapa and Aditi, and I became your son, Vamanadev. Now, this is the 3rd time I'm appearing as your son. And by the way, Vasudeva and Devaki, this is your last birth. After this, you're coming to my abode. That's why Krishna didn't appear first as an ordinary human baby. He had to impress upon them his 3 births. If he had first appeared as an ordinary human baby, they may not understand. Then Krishna transformed himself from the Narayan form to look like that's the key word, look like an ordinary human being. That's the key. Just ask Putana. Because Putana found out really fast, this is no ordinary human baby. and throughout Krishna Leela, Brahma was bewildered. Brahma thought, how could this 5-year-old cowherd boy be my boss? And he tried to play a trick on Krishna. But Krishna played the trick on him. And Brahma was there crying, begging forgiveness. Indra also could not tolerate this 7-year-old boy was telling his father not to do the annual Indra Puja. Indra also could not understand that this 7-year-old cowherd boy was his boss. But then Krishna delivered them by lifting Govardhan hill. Then Indra came very, very meekly and humbly. And Krishna told Indra, Indra, you're Indra only because I allow you. When I give you permission, then you're Indra. I can take away your being Indra. Very simple. I can take it away. After all, one time Indra became a hog. Yes, he was cursed. And he had a hog family. And Lord Brahma came down. Indra, this is not right for you. You're supposed to be king of heaven. What are you talking about? I'm happy here. I have my wife. I have my children. I have my stool. What is the problem? And then Brahma said, you better be careful because the butcher is coming to kill you. Oh, okay. Then he wanted to be Indra again. Yes. So, we have to keep in mind, Sanatan, the soul is Sanatan, always existed, exists now, and will forever exist. Like I say many times, get used to yourself. You're not going away. You, whoever you are, you're stuck with you. So you better make yourself wonderful by becoming a nice devotee of the Lord. So desires. We have a stock of desires from millions and millions of births. And once in a while, Krishna in the heart reminds us, oh, Narendra, a couple of lifetimes ago you wanted to do something. Here's your shot. Go for it. That's what it is. You're walking down the street. You get up in the morning. You know, I feel like doing this. That's not overnight. You had desires a long time ago. Krishna is saying, okay, here's your chance. The time is right. And therefore, these desires cause the living entity to transmigrate from one body to another, either as a human, animal, or demigod. Oh, I've said this many times. Here it is. I never remembered where it was. So it's the Yama-dootas. This will teach us a lot. When one gets the body of a demigod, one is certainly very jubilant. So when you have a demigod body, you always feel good, happy, jubilant. Haribo. When one gets a human body, one is always in lamentation. There you go. We're always lamenting about something. Doesn't take long. And when one gets the body of an animal, one is always afraid. In all conditions, however, the soul is actually miserable. One's miserable condition is called sangsriti, or transmigration in material life. So there's more. Shall I continue next month? We have a few more. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you very much for this privilege to speak on Srimad Bhagavatam. May Krishna bless you, protect you, and maintain you, and I hope I can come back next month. Hare Krishna.